The idea for Earth's Best for organic baby food actually occurred in 1976, just a year before we landed in Vermont. But Arnie and I both thought that we didn't have the credentials. We both had dropped out of school. We knew very little about baby food except who was supposed to eat it. In 1984, Arnie said to me, "I'm doing the baby food company with you or without you. It's time. No one else has done it. We've waited long enough. Why not us?"
They sold me on the idea with their enthusiasm, with their stick-to-itiveness, with them telling me that they believed in this so much that they were going to do it anyway. They didn't know how they were going to get the money, but they were going to get it somehow.
The first days of Earth's Best were extremely confusing. It was obvious that it was quite an iterative, intuitive process that was unfolding, and starting up with production was very exciting because we were starting something very new.
It was probably midwinter of the first year. Things got so bad, they actually had to let most all of us go. And of course, that was probably one of the most demoralizing times. But we got called back, which was great. There was definitely a very solid, ongoing sense of hope and optimism.
Gaining distribution in grocery is a very difficult proposition for a startup company. And that's because it's the most prized real estate in the United States, and it's dominated by all the large brands.
Months after we started production, we were in financial distress, and over many months, we got to a place where we were going to have a $6+ million closing of a venture capital round, but it was not nearly enough. The original structure of our board was such that Arnie and I had a 60% controlling interest of the company, and we had sold 40% of the interest in the company to the first round of investors, and the board was structured so that we could call the shots. Ron and I were invited to an emergency board meeting, and Ron and I were given an ultimatum. They appreciated all that we had accomplished, but decided that we really didn't have the capability to take the company forward, and that I had to step down as president, or the venture capital would not come into the company. So it was a moment where we were shocked, we felt violated, and we were faced with a decision. You know, in so many ways that sounds like a difficult decision, but Ron and I were never going to be the people to put Earth's Best out of business. We wanted Earth's Best to live on. Earth's Best was never about us. We lost control of the company. We no longer had 60%. Our percentage was well below 50%.
Which is the more common than not outcome of any entrepreneur raising outside capital.
They could have approached us differently. They could have related to us. They could have cared about us and said, "Guys, you know what? You've done so much. You know, we love what you've done. We love what Earth's Best is becoming, but you know, we don't think that you've got enough management or enough financial strength or ability, and we really need to talk about bringing in someone else." They could have done that. They could have approached us as in a respectful way, and we would have had a discussion. And Ron and I weren't hanging on. I wasn't hanging on to be CEO or president. Ron wasn't hanging on to managing the plant. What we were hanging on to was the dream of Earth's Best. I really was pretty much out of the company like 3 or 4 months after that. They didn't renew my contract, and I knew that it was the right thing for me because I couldn't steer from the back seat. By the summer, somewhere in the summer of 1990, not that long after Ron left, I was at the point where I could no longer accept the way I was being related to. I was not being included in high-level meetings. I'd had enough, and I resigned. But I kept my position as a board member. Not too long after that, I decided I could no longer stay on the board, and I was gone. But between 1993 and 1995, Ron and I played the role of consultant, helping to develop new products, interfacing with growers and the marketplace. And then there was a very big event. In 1996, Earth's Best was sold to H.J. Heinz for $30 million or so.
You know, Ron and Arnie really inspired us. And we felt like we were part of something very, very important. And I think we were.
We wanted to start the first organic baby food company in the United States and bring organic foods into the mainstream. And that dream became a reality. The idea that millions of babies have been raised on Earth's Best is part of a dream come true. That thousands of acres of farmland that may have been farmed conventionally or then being farmed organically was a big deal. And that is very, very satisfying.